So in this video I would like to try to like service this kind of pedal. I don't know, the only thing is, like, unlike most pedals, like, they have this cap here. You could pop this out and then like undo them and grease them. This one doesn't seem to have this feature. And just to note, I got these pedals off of an old road bike that I found next to a dumpster. Based on the condition that it was in, it was probably kept outside for quite a while because there was like rust on a lot of rust on various parts, and even the shifter cables had like completely rusted through and broken apart from the rust. So I eventually, fixed it up and started riding it a bit, and initially the pedals were okay, but one of them is really starting to seize up now and seems to be like, and it's kind of noticeable during riding that it's kind of seizing up. So I decided to kind of look into it. So I think I got to grind off these things here and then somehow put it back together maybe. And maybe this will not be success, I don't know. I don't know what to expect inside there. I'm gonna try to do it with the hacksaw. See how this. Here I'm just using the hacksaw to attempt to grind away at these peened over tabs that are holding the pedals together. I gotta do this way too, actually, because yep. See what I'm saying? Here I'm just gonna speed up this portion of cutting through that other peened over tab that was holding the pedal together. One thing I'll say is I could have used like a finer tooth hacksaw, because it did like kind of hang up like with those. I'm using kind of a coarser tooth hacksaw here, and it kind of hangs up sometimes while trying to cut through. Okay, so let's see what's going on in here. Oh, sure. And at this point, my phone ran out of memory, but I was basically just surprised that internally it had a relatively normal setup with a solid spindle and an adjustment nut configuration. Because I thought that, like, I thought this was held together by just that other like these plates were just holding the bearings together, but it turns out that they have like a pretty regular looking setup in there where it's just an adjustment nut and all that. So I guess the better way would have been just to cut this off. That would have been way easier, because now I have to like figure out a way to put this back together afterwards. Let's see here. I'll pop that. Oh, there you go. Nothing too, yeah, it's just regular. There's a spacer here, and yeah. But I think these bearings are a little bigger than what they use in most like, I think the mountain bike bearings, they use, I think, smaller bearings than this. But I don't know what size those are. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, these, I haven't done those that much, but they seem like larger balls than what comes on most mountain bikes. Here I begin to clean the cups and cones, though I made the mistake of using something called brake cleaner to kind of clean off the grease, but really it's not that efficient at cleaning grease. For cleaning this sort of old greasy components, it's better to use something like mineral spirits to kind of dissolve the grease. And afterwards, like, something like brake clean can be used to sort of get rid of the residue of like the mineral spirits. Though eventually I started using something called seafoam, which I had on hand to help to clean these cups and cones. Seafoam is like this automotive product which is similar to mineral spirits. This cup, after cleaning it up, it doesn't look very damaged at all. It looks like I could reuse it. I mean, doesn't have, I thought it was going to be much worse. Particular cone looks very nice too, after cleaning it. Doesn't look that bad. And this is the other cup, and the spindle also looks quite good, I'd say. I think I just found one spot there that had a bit of a pit in there, like that part right there. I don't know if it comes up, yeah, right there. So when it comes up on cameras, that's, I think, the only pitting I see. This one looks quite a bit worse, but it spins quite a bit more freely. So I'm gonna try to cut this like tip off here. Let's see. So I'm gonna speed up this portion as well. Here I begin working on the second pedal, though I'm taking a different approach as compared to the previous pedal. Here I'm working at it from the other end. I'm gonna try to cut off this cap sort of thing. I end up just cutting through it like about 90% of the way so that I could pry it open so that it doesn't completely fall off. And then my plan was to like basically bend it back closed when I'm done servicing the pedal, and then using some epoxy or JB weld to like seal off the seam that's left from cutting it open. Probably just gonna cut it that much and just pry it open. Then, like, you know what I'm saying. So then I'll maybe JB weld around here. So I don't want to take it all the way apart. Hopefully it won't. Just gotta take a little bit. I'm just keep it like that, So I'm just gonna clean it out in there. And this one actually doesn't even look that bad. It has like grease in there. So, but what I want to do is I gotta count the number of bearings because I didn't count the number on the other side, on the other pedal. So let's see here. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 bearings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. I have to put 11 bearings on both sides, I guess. The cones don't look that bad. These cones, they don't look that bad, and the spindle is okay looking. There's like a little bit of blemishes and stuff in there, but I think it's okay. And I didn't get the video of the entire process, but I basically put in 11U stainless 5/32 bearings into each of the cups, you know, with grease, and reassembled the spindles. Then I went through the adjustment process where you have to set like a slight preload on the bearings. So I'm gonna have to just like bend this over, I guess. Let's see here. Wow, there's some heavy steel in there. Then so like grease this. So like basically grease this other one up. It's like spinning quite more nicely now. And I'm just gonna like I guess put it back together like this somehow and see how this. And this is the tricky part of reassembling that pedal, was because since it was held together by the peened over tabs, and since I basically ground off those peened over tabs, I basically had to like get the remaining portion of those tabs back through the slots in the side plate of this pedal. And if I would get one tab in, the other one would pop out, and that was kind of a tricky process. And eventually I got them to, you know, stay together, and I came to the conclusion that I'll probably just use a welder to kind of hold the pedal together. So I mean, this is I don't know. I'm probably gonna like. I got a MIG welder. I'm probably gonna use MIG welder to MIG weld this. So I'm guessing if someone doesn't have a welder, it's probably better to do it this way. I'm not sure how else to like. Maybe put a long screw somehow to, you know, hold them together. So I don't know. And I didn't get any video of the actual welding process, but in preparation for like the welding, I used a C-clamp basically to clamp the pedal together as tightly as I could get it, particularly at the points, you know, with the tabs go through the side plate of the pedal. You know, that's the part where I'm going to weld. I want that particular part to be as tight as possible. And then I put the clamp, after I welded that side, I put the clamp on the other tab just to make sure that once it's welded it will be held very tightly together. So I ended up like flux core welding the tabs. You know, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna hold up. I didn't try to weld them to get I didn't try to weld the two pieces together. I just tried to like weld on top of the tabs and bend them over kind of, but I don't know, I guess I ended up welding it together, so hopefully that will hold up. And just to note, like between, like while I was welding it, between the welds, I would like kind of dab this with a wet paper towel to keep the heat out of like the actual bearings. So I like weld this a little bit, then do this and this so that it wouldn't like mess with the grease and overheat it. So to finish off the pedal where I, you know, cut the cap off, I just used some of this JB quick weld and you know, just used it to cover up the seam that was left over after like bending the cap back over. It doesn't look good, but I think it's functional. That's just, and as for the other side, hopefully these welds will hold up. Overall, I was surprised that there wasn't that much damage to the cups and cones, at least not much visible damage. My guess is that what caused this is that contamination got into one of those bearings, which caused that pedal to become difficult to turn. I did note that there was also slight like burnt smell from that pedal, so I guess that like coincides with like excessive friction. And I also noticed that some of the bearings were a bronze color after cleaning them, and so maybe that's something that happens to bearings after maybe they overheat or something, I don't know. And another thing I did was I like tested the bearings, that some of the bearings that came out of the pedal, and I put them in like a saltwater bath to see if they rusted, because I had initially thought they were stainless steel, and eventually they did rust. So I was surprised that there wasn't any rust in there when I took them out, so they must have been in a very good grease or something. But it turns out they were like non-stainless steel bearings. And regarding the bearings I used these bearings that came out of this kit for those pedals. In particular was the 5/32 size. The only thing is, even though they say here, this says here bicycle bearing balls, from what I read online, 304 stainless may not be a very good material for like ball bearings in general. But I mean, they make them, I guess. I mean, they could be used, but supposedly they may not have the same durability as chrome steel bearings or the 440 stainless bearings. So like if you want to use stainless, I guess they recommend using 440 stainless rather than 304 stainless. And this is the Amazon listing from where I got the this particular bearing kit from. And notice that it doesn't state the exact type of stainless steel that the balls are made out of, and it also doesn't state the precision grade of the bearings. So when I got these, I thought this was a good deal. I was thinking, I would have, various size ball bearings for all the various parts of the bike, and that they would be stainless steel, so maybe they wouldn't corrode and will last longer. But after doing some research, I think I wouldn't use these bearings in things like wheel hubs or bottom brackets, not simply because they're 304 stainless, but because they don't state here the precision grade of the bearings. And so since they're not stating the precision level of the bearings, I'm assuming that it's probably not like a very high grade of bearing. And I'm going to show like the listings that show like the precision grade. So if I were to do this job again, I would probably use something like the bearings in this listing here. Notice that it says here the grade of stainless steel, which is 440C, and also it states here that this is a G10 precision. That these bearings are at that precision level, and as I understand, the lower this number, the better. So let's say some bearings are G25, which is, from what I read, that's not bad. G10 is even better. So going back to the pedals, it's been over a month since I did the service on the pedals, and I've taken the bike that had those pedals on it for quite a lot of rides. I probably put about between 100 and 200 miles on it, and the pedals, they feel okay. I mean, there is some notchiness to them, but they're not really developing any play. And despite the bearings that I use, which supposedly, I guess they're not the best ideal bearing material, they're 304 stainless, but they seem to be holding up so far. And so far so good. And I should mention that this is the KKT brand of pedals. So I guess if you have this kind of KKT pedal, it could be serviced in this way. I was initially thinking of just getting different pedals, like just throwing these out, but I was like, let me try to service them, see what's going on inside. And I mean, it's more involved, but than like a pedal that has a cap on it for servicing and stuff. But I think it's a doable thing just with a hacksaw, and you know, just clean it out, and it's basically like a regular pedal. Once you cut the cap off, it's like a regular pedal. And just to clarify, I mentioned cutting the cap off a few times in this video, but I never really totally cut the cap off. What I meant was cut it and pried it open. You know, I basically cut around the circumference and pried it open, and then forced it back closed. And it seems like, you know, you can't really do that too many times, because that pivot point can fatigue, and I guess breaking, and then the cap will totally fall off. And if that happens, I'm not sure, maybe the epoxy and JB welds could hold the cap on in that case, or maybe a few little tack welds would have to be used around the cap to hold it on, and then some epoxy over that to keep the elements out. So yeah, I would recommend. I mean, it doesn't look as nice when you do it with the JB weld, like when you cut the cap off, but I think it's simpler, and because you don't need to have a welder to put it back together, and you don't have to worry about the structure of the pedal. You know, like right now, like to me, if I were to do this again, if I knew what the inside of the pedal was like, I would do both of them by cutting the cap off. So you know, that's just a simpler way overall. Thank you for watching.